What is the worst feeling ever? Kidney stones. Being stuck in life. There is no forward progress, and there is no going back. You are just where you are. The feeling of total helplessness while watching a loved one die. When someone betray your trust when you needed them the most. That feeling that you get right after losing a pet that you loved so dearly. It's such a hopeless feeling. Like you're reaching out and crying for someone who just minutes before was there. That's the worst feeling ever. When a loved one passes, knowing you'll never physically see or hear them again. That gut-wrenching feeling you get when you realize you fucked up something very badly and you can't fix it anymore. Doom. That diagnosis. That moment when failure is inevitable. The impending breakup. My dad was in a coma for a little over a week before we lost him, and we knew we would be losing him. That's doom, and it's the prelude to grief. I hope none of you experience doom. It's like having all of your agency for change stripped away. It's a true sense of powerlessness, and it's traumatizing. Anhedonia. When doing something you used to enjoy no longer invokes the feelings they once did. Everything I used to enjoy no longer does anything for me. X200B. You could chalk this up to depression, but this is a specific feeling that makes me feel empty inside because everything that used to make me smile feels like a chore now. Missing a long-term partner and knowing they don't feel the same way. Not being able to breathe. I recently had an 8-hour asthma attack and it was terrifying. Realizing you just sent an email, company-wide, and not only to the original sender. When I was at work and my wife called to tell me they lost my son and called 911. I work 90 minutes away from. My son is fine and safe, he was hiding in the house, but I've never felt so bad in my life. Acknowledging the death of your most loved one, making your brain understand that they just don't exist anymore, and there's absolutely nothing you can do to change that. You know that feeling when you just wake up and for a second everything seems okay? Yeah, the feeling right after when you remember everything is, in fact, not okay. Being cheated on in a serious relationship. It's so much more than betrayal. It cuts you deep and has you wondering what's wrong with you, and then every relationship you ever have after is different because you've been changed and trusting is never the same. Unexpected phone call at 1 a.m. and the grief of losing a child. The regret you feel 1 second after saying something really hurtful to someone. Abandonment. Feels like fire in your soul. Seeing the person you love having more fun with other people than with you. When you wake up and your dog died while you were sleeping. Betrayal. When you are eating and you suddenly hear a crack and realize you just broke your tooth. When you realize the relationship is over and you can't take it anymore. But ending things seems impossible when you've been together for so long and had so many memories. Loving someone who doesn't love you back. Someone not loving you back the way you did. Being suicidal. Cluster headaches. I hate them. The realization that no one actually cares about you. Actions speak louder than words. When everyone's actions are screaming we don't care at you, it's really hard. Especially when it's people that you thought would always have your back, no matter what. When you get rejected from a job that would flip your life around in every aspect. Heartbreak. The feeling when you can tell someone is falling out of love with you and there's nothing you can do. Guilt and regret can destroy someone. Being betrayed by someone who you thought you could trust. It's happened to me too many times, and every time, it makes me feel like absolute shit. When you feel that you don't really matter to anyone. Especially in social circles. It's when you notice that no one listens to anything you have to say, when people in the group makes up plans and forgets to mention you. It's not that anyone would be actively mean even, it's just that you're not really there in their eyes. That really horrible sinking panic when you see the look on someone's face and just know something awful has happened. I don't feel anything most of the time. That's the worst feeling, blank, black, emptiness that makes you wonder if you are even alive, and if so why? Pain becomes a welcome respite from the numbness. Anal fissure. I've had my eyelids kicked off with a boot and had to hold my eye in the socket with a towel till I got to the ear. Anal fissure all day. Not being able to sleep despite being tired every day. Loneliness. Shitting yourself on a plane. That feeling after reading that we need to talk text. Flushed face. The feeling of never being able to achieve something you dedicate your life to. Failing at life and its never-ending cycle of sadness and depression. Recognizing your lost potential. Knowing that in an alternate universe you could have been someone. Worst feeling is being forgotten. Being in a relationship with a narcissistic individual. Regret. The guilt you feel for leaving a good person because you know you couldn't fully show up for them the way they deserved in your current state of life. I'm having a really hard time with it right now. Edit. Thank you to everyone commenting and being vulnerable here. Some of us are really going through it right now, and although I wish we weren't, our path to healing has to start sometime, somewhere. The rules that our traumas and experiences are keeping us bound to are lying, and we need to put in the work to have grace with ourselves during this process more than anything else. I truly wish I could hug you all right now, Because I sure as fuck could use one myself. Your friends hanging out without telling you. Losing a baby. Having to put a pet down. Nausea. Being a gifted kid in school and 10 years later all of the praise, promise and potential isn't there anymore. Suppressing the lump in the throat because there are people around. Loneliness. Deep, prolonged clinical depression. If you haven't experienced it, you don't know. Feeling unwanted. When you wave back to someone but realize they were waving to someone else. Being really upset and opening your phone only to realize you have nobody to call. Having to go poop right after you begin your shower. Monday morning when the alarm went off and my wife didn't wake up. I tried CPR while I called 911. 20 minutes later the ambulance arrived. 20 minutes later they said they aren't hopeful. Another half hour for the coroner to get there and tell me she was sorry. Going through a miscarriage. Lost the baby at 15 weeks and seeing your child dead inside of you on an ultrasound with no heartbeat is fucked. When you see their love for you starts to fade. When your phone rings in the middle of the night. Realizing every second you are getting older. Time is passing quickly. You start to feel like 16 years ago was yesterday. And you slept in bed, woke up as adult. You know that itch under your skin that moves whenever you try and scratch it? That. Having a bad day with your mental illness. Others don't get it, and you're suffering alone inside. It's hard to describe, it's hard to deal with, and there's no real answer to make it better. Worst of all, you end up questioning if you've really a right or a reason to feel the way you feel, and you end up beating yourself up even more for having one or not doing better or not being like everyone else. It's a death spiral when you have a bad day with it. The haunting memories of lost love. Okay everyone, take out your homework. Vitriol. Knowing I might never see or talk to him again. Probably going through a stillbirth. Then later that week your parents dying. Tooth pain. A pet dying. Regrets. Anxiety. Melancholy. Pain. Random meeting requests. Realizing you don't have that thing you reminded yourself not to forget. Knowing you did something wrong, and recognizing the impact it had on people, including loved ones and friends, and when you finally recognize the dire consequences for all including yourself, and that there is nothing you can do to take it back and make things better again. A failed sneeze. Loneliness, because people don't often empathize with lonely people. Loneliness is an isolating battle. Additionally, the worst part is that people think they will empathize with lonely people and talk about empathizing with them. But in practice lonely people are insecure and prone to moral failure out of desperation. Understandably, no one wants to deal with that, so you have to pay someone, a therapist, to hear you out. Social anxiety and feeling like people are just being polite and don't actually like you, or you're creeping people out when realistically you probably aren't. Hopelessness, depression, anxiety.
I hope you all are doing well, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed this video. If you have something to say critically or otherwise, leave a comment. And if you enjoy this content, don't forget to subscribe to see more of it. I hope you all have wonderful and